morning.
Hey, Don. How are you, buddy?
Excellent. You?
Good, good. We're going to kick things off with a new version of the Cola Wars. Cola Wars. I think I said Wards. As you know, the United States of America thinks that next week, start of the holidays, right? American Thanksgiving. And then, so all the brands are out now with their favorite holiday ads, their favorite colas. I'll get your thoughts on some of the Cola War videos that we're seeing out there.
Excellent.
So why don't we kick it off? Let's have a look at, get ready if you've got some tissue around. We're going to start with the Coca-Cola ad. Spoiler alert, you're going to cry. Do I want to hear your thoughts on that one, or do you want to hear see the other side of the Cola Wars first with the Pepsi video?
I want to see the other side of Cola Wars.
All right, let's go to the other side there.
Baking not your forte? Introducing Pepsi Apple Pie. Post a pic of your baking fails with hashtag Pepsi Apple Pie Challenge, and you could win the easiest pie you'll never have to bake.
Now, there is actually some marketing truth that the Coca-Cola company created the modern day image of Santa. They were one of the first to use that image. I think they actually ordered, if you will, or commissioned that Santa image. I don't know if there's any truth to Pepsi owning pie baking, but I know you haven't put these two spots through the IMI machine yet. But give me your thoughts on this. You've been in the Cola Wars for a long time yourself in the trenches.
Well, it's interesting. 95, I think, was our first job with Coca to the U.S. on the Santa Pack, which is they've authentically been tied to Santa for a very long period of time. And in today's politically correct,
1995?
No, 19, but it could be.
Okay.
But in today's very sensitive, politically correct environment, it's interesting that they continue along this path with reaping emotional rewards, acceptance of all. But the fact they promote is great. It's a long payoff. Over 2 minutes is a long payoff, but it does obviously bring some strings in. Whereas Pepsi's being a lot more fun. One person's view, I don't want to try it. I'm not going to post my picture.
You don't want to try to go to the North Pole, or you don't want to try to bake with a Pepsi?
I don't want to drink apple pie Pepsi,
Okay.
or post my picture. But the fact is, they're two different things. I mean, Coke, obviously, I remember back to their tag as shared emotional refreshment, which I thought was a bit esoteric, but however, they go for it. So we are testing it just out of curiosity to see can you link your parents with Coca-Cola with Santa? Like that's a so being the analytic geek, the fact is I think that's a long way to go. I mean, Nike supported Black Lives Matter and they got accolades for it. Mm-hmm. Nike tried to support the election with Lyft, the $10, and they got trashed for it. So how close can you get? Anyway, too analytical. I think Coke's spot is emotional. I think Pepsi's spot is fun. I don't think it's either their best work from testing thousands of Cola War commercials.
So I don't actually recognize where you are. You look like you're out of town. Are you holidaying? Are you at the North Pole? Like, where are you?
I'm in Collingwood, beautiful Collingwood, isolating. No, not isolating, but trying to get out of the Toronto fervor here, where it's not quite as locked down, but still social distancing is in effect everywhere you go, which is great.
The old testing question for you, in that luxury accommodation you're at, that painting over your shoulder looks like it was done in 1895.
I'm not sure what that is, but it's a very beautiful table with an apple on it, I believe, and a jug of water.
Do you have a fireplace there?
Yes, we do.
Okay. Well, I've got something for you to put in it. Take a look at this. Let's have a look at the KFC fire log. I think that our production team, who just sent me a note saying audio not working, is telling me that they can't hear me. So I'm going to say, play the fire log.
Play the fire log.
Yeah. Show the fire log.
There we seem to be
all right.
having technical difficulty.
We've got no error, but all of you out there have probably 5 devices going. There we go. So this is now available. What happened? Play it again. This is now available at Canadian Tire. There is a herbs and spices scented KFC fire log.
Well, I'm sure they saw it. They'll believe it.
What I was going to say is many of you out there, like my wife, do pay one eye and 1 ear to the show, and the other is you're probably doing your email and cheating. So I want you to Google this right this moment. I want you to Google the KFC fire log at Canadian Tire. What will they think of next? You can now put the kernel in your fireplace and light a match. What do you think about that one?
I think KFC, we do a lot of work in the Australian market with KFC and looking at them, and they're a super fun, innovative company. Will try anything just to get news. So it's along their line. It's a interesting thing. I mean, for shits and giggles, I'm sure people are going to pick it up, and it's going to create some PR. So what do I think? I think it's very low cost innovation to do something.
Gotcha. Well, it looks like our production guy has either fallen off the face of the earth. We don't know what's going on at the back end right now. So I'm going to put you on the spot there, Don. I'm going to ask you if you can fire up, hopefully you've got another screen or a phone, your weekly pulse slides, and maybe we can talk to them, and hopefully Eric will come back and join us, and we'll be able to show. Oh, so he says he's got it. So let's see. Eric, are you going to show us the slides?
I'm going to talk about it just until.
So
we're going to talk about pulse.
Here we go.
Which is, so what's going on this week? What's going to happen? I was going to talk about Canadians' favorite brand, all-time brand, their service. What do they do in the morning? I was going to talk about Black Friday, but I thought this week's news and possibly in an hour, Canada's announcements of more stringent lockdowns. This is a more important topic. So first off, this was reported that 800,000 people ineligible. Why? They have not filed a tax return in many, many years. So 800,000 people get CERB. So That's $1.7 billion per CERB check. So if they get 6 CERB checks, that's over $10 billion. And if you look at the CERB program's first budget at $24 billion, now it's $81 billion. What if we use that $10 billion, and that's just the tip of the iceberg of the fraud that's going on, to actually get us rapid testing, or to get more testing, or to actually test the people who need it, or to get more healthcare, or to get more education or better HVAC in there? I mean, how tough is it? It took them 7 months to figure this out. I'm not sure how many public servants there are in the CRA, but I would think it would take a little less time than that to figure out these people haven't filed a tax return. So there's the $10 billion tip of the iceberg. Let's go to the next page if we would, Eric.
Just pause for 1 second on that. I don't know if Eric can even hear us, but look, you and I, we've talked about this endlessly. We're companies that work in industries that need the support of things like the queues, things like rent relief, etc. And there's been a lot of people laid off. So the CERB, the CERB, however you want to enunciate it, I get it. On the other hand, to your point, how is it that almost 1 million people have been fraudulently getting this money? How is it, to your point, our governments don't know? Where the heck are they on a proper rent relief program? You know, a queues that's going down every day, and people get fooled with the queues. The queues it's helpful, but it's not even coming close to keeping people gainfully employed.
Yeah, we're getting 25% of what we used to. I agree. The point is we're focusing on the wrong thing. I think, to be frank, Donald Trump took so much heat, and not saying he didn't deserve it, but he took so much heat. He took Canada's eyes off making our government accountable to making us healthy and us wealthy and give us opportunity and keep us safe. So I think the free ride should be over. I would encourage all to put pressure towards government to go, what is going on? So we were patting ourselves on the back on how great we were and how bad the U.S. was, and it's fantastic. But you look at the last 2 months, we're on that same COVID case curve as the rest of the world. And that's interesting because Donald Trump has no impact in here. But all I heard about forever was, look at what a shit job they're doing in the U.S. Well, can we say what a shit job we're doing here in Canada? Like, what are we actually doing? And one of the biggest things I rant about is we need more testing. We need instant testing. Yeah, we need a vaccine. But how tough would it be? And obviously tough. I'm not, but to develop a vaccine has to be infinitely more difficult than getting us a rapid test in 15 minutes that's accessible everywhere. But we see the curve going up. That's not good news, and we're supposed to hear more news later today. Let's go to the next page, though. And it'll do some comparisons of what's going on. So percent of the population tested, US 53%, Canada 28%. So twice as many. Trump's talking about how many people he has tested. He has tested more than anyone in the world. UK at 59%, Germany at 32%. But if you look what's going on, the number of cases yesterday in the US is 192,000. That's a massive number. Their positivity rate is 11.3%. So even though they're testing more, their actions within the country are not doing well. We're at 8%.
Positivity means the percentage of people tested who tested positive?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
You need to go a little slower for me because things like positivity ratio.
Anyway, so we look at what we look at there is at 7.7% for Canada, far worse than the UK, infinitely worse than Germany. But that number used to be less than 0.5%. Like 99.7% of the tests we did in that May, June, July were negative. Now we're up at 7.7%. As soon as it goes over 2%, you know you're not testing enough people. So we actually have more cases we're actually showing, and that's why it's going to continue to escalate. So Eric, if you want to go to the next page.
I'm, by the way, just so you know, and I'll let our audience know in the little secret, Eric can't hear a thing we're saying, so I'm queuing him up manually here.
Okay. So go off to the next page, Eric, if you would.
There we go.
No, that's the same one as the one before. There we go. And let's like, why is this not front page news? October 15th, we tested 77,000 people a day. Then the average fell to 61,000. Now we're down to 55,000. How could our testing drop 15 to 20%? We can't figure out the 800,000 people that are getting CERB, and we can't actually maintain testing. So if you look at it, and I know there's health technicians, but if we're spending this much money on CERB and keeping the economy going, don't we have to keep the country safe? And there's no news on this. The fact is our testing is going in the wrong direction and our cases are spiking. Eric, if we go to the next page, we'll just show you what's happening right now.
So let's put a call out to the people that are watching that we need people to talk to our governments about the lack of testing. We need people to speak up. So let's take us through the reality of November right now.
Let's look at Canada. So the first one is the number of cases. This is from yesterday.
Yeah.
Beside it's the number of tests, 62,000.
Yeah.
Look at Ontario, 40,000, those 60,000. Well, that's 65% of all the tests are happening in Ontario. So I'll give a big shout out to Doug Ford. He could still do more from a testing perspective, but relative to the other provinces, Ontario's accounting for 65% of the tests, and they're only 39% of the population. That's why Manitoba, if you look to the next column, the positive tests, 7% across Canada, BC's 8%, Manitoba's 14%, higher than the US, which means their 475 cases is probably close to 800. They're off the charts. Across Canada, we're off the charts. Ontario's down at 3%. But all we look at is how many cases. So most people say, well, if you look at Ontario, 1,210 cases, Quebec, 1,207, they're both the same. Well, they're not. The fact is the positive tests in Ontario are a third of that in Quebec. And why is that so important? Because we need to get that number down under 2% of positive tests. The only way to do that is if you think you have something or been in contact, how do I get testing as quick as possible? As you saw in the prior chart, our testing is going in the wrong direction. We have tested fewer people today than we did a month ago. How is that frickin' possible? So we're at 28%. The US at 55%. We should double the number of testing. Let's go get our money back from the people that unlawfully actually got it, and you put money into testing. Just to put that in perspective, just that money that for those 800,000 people, that would give us 50 million tests, 5 times as many tests. That's through a private corporation charges $200 per test. So at $200 a test, we get 50 million tests for just that amount of money. We're focusing on the wrong thing, and that's why we're going into potentially another dreaded lockdown. So that's it for me on the pulse side of things. The next page will go into what the news is, and the news is depressing. So let's go on to all you want for Christmas or your 2 vaccines.
No, let's do the news, and then we're going to talk about my 2 vaccines for Christmas. Do you like my song, by the way?
I do.
I've been humming that all night. So
the point is, this is just top stories. All it talks about from Nanaimo, doctors fear another lockdown could be coming. Doug Ford strongly hints at a lockdown. Both sides, doesn't matter what's going on, not good shit. As we talked about before, you need to social distance. You don't want to go to super spreaders like cottages in Collingwood with people. You don't want to wash your hands and stay safe.
Okay, let me ask you a really simple question here before we move on. Here's the weird thing. We have all these announcements, 94% effectiveness, 95%, no side effects. So on one hand, people are hearing all about rushing the Pfizer vaccine into the FDA for approval, the Moderna one, all this great news. And then the other hand, we have these numbers. Put your researcher lens on for me for a second. Think about what's happening in the consumer's brain right now. What side should they listen to? Vaccines or headlines?
Well, unfortunately, they listen to both, but headlines are typically politically driven, as is Pfizer and Moderna. But however, their test results are phenomenal. It's just, I think there's going to be a large delay. People might think it's going to, like Fauci says, it's going to be distributed in December to some people in the US. Canada be lucky to get it by July. That's why I'm so hot on the testing, is because we need, until everyone has a vaccine, we need rapid testing. The 2 in combination provides great safety. We'll return our economy and our life back to normal much quicker. Right now, we have shitty testing and no vaccines. And we're not going to be number 1 in line for the vaccines, as we know, because we're not number 1 in the world. But hopefully we can get it distributed to those in need most early. And we're still looking July. And I'm no forecaster. I'd bet more on September than I would in April.
So let's maybe turn to something a little bit more cheery. And let's have a look at this amazing video, story from Buffalo. Josh Allen, quarterback for the Buffalo Bills, grandmother dies. And look
this
at how
Buffalo subreddit post is the catalyst for more than $100,000 in donations to Oshai Children's Hospital in less than 24 hours.
Really, the fan base just kind of took it from there and ran with it. And it's been really, really incredible to see what's happened throughout the course of the day.
Bills fan Justin Hutton came up with the idea when he heard Josh Allen's grandmother passed away, a day before he led the Bills to a big win over Seattle. He wants to do good for an organization close to Allen's heart.
I figured it would just be more or less just like the subreddit members, the Buffalo Bills subreddit members. And once it got onto Twitter, it just sort of kept going and going and going.
The donations, which now top more than 3,500, will help patients like Scarlett, making signs to support the quarterback that supports her hospital. The family writes, quote, "All the love and support from everyone has made our stays at the hospital truly ones to remember." There's now a $17 Bills Mafia button on the hospital's donation page.
Just took off and it's still going.
Andrew Bennett says the money will touch all areas of the hospital.
Different team members, equipment, technology, recruitment of new doctors, nurses.
In a statement Monday, Allen said, quote, "The donations made to OCH in honor of my grandmother would make her proud." Hutton's inspiration came from past Bills Mafia fundraising efforts.
It's just sort of the culture of the fan base.
QB Andy Dalton knows that firsthand.
Hey Buffalo fans, we just want to say thank you for all the support that you've given us this year.
Bills fans raised more than $400,000 for his foundation after Dalton's touchdown throw against the Ravens put the Bills back in the playoffs for the first time in 17 years. 17, the same number as Josh Allen's jersey.
Well, if there's ever a moment where you thought Americans didn't love their football.
Yeah, and they do good things. I mean, that's the one positive, or one of the positives coming out of this, is people are doing good shit for it. And that the new numbers, as of this morning, our contact Mike from our content team said $623,000 now. They talked about, a massive amount.
623,000. So last year they raised 400,000 for Andy Dalton, right? Because he put the Bills in the playoffs. And this year they raised 600,000 to honor Josh Allen's grandmother, which is amazing.
In a way, it's fantastic. But a shout out to Bills Mafia for actually voting with their wallets and helping out with people in need, which is a great thing to do. Again, people do have compassion and good hearts, and the fact is that's how captioning things like that are great for the NFL, the community, the hospital. That's a win-win-win all across the board, obviously.
Well, here's a quick one for you. I think there's an interesting exercise here for any charity that's out there that has their standard $25, $50, $100 donation form, tying into a local hero, $17. Like the math, all the scientists, all the fundraisers say, $50 is the average donation. $17 gets you to 600,000, a lot faster than 15.
100%.
Yeah, 100%. So I want to sort of switch gears a little bit here. I'm wearing my Park Street hoodie. I don't know if you can see it. This is the school that we launched, and yesterday, this might be shocking to you, Don, but I was in with the grade 7 and 8.
Did you pass?
No, but there was a young man there named Rasami, and he asked me a very enlightening question for a 12 or 13-year-old. He said to me, "Mr. Harrison, how come you've stopped being silent on racism?" And, it was really profound that he would ask me that and want to talk about that and talk about George Floyd's murder. And I think one of the things that I think we need to continue to do is keep this dialogue going. There's a misattributed story that the words Black Friday is actually a racist slur. It actually came from a stock market crash in the 1800s. That was a couple of swindlers. It actually got popularized in the 60s in Philadelphia by the police, who called the day after Thanksgiving, after Roosevelt moved up, Black Friday, because there are traffic jams. People just skipped work. For me, it's not about whether or not the name came from a racist place. It's the fact that the connotation is negative. Black is only positive for accountants. But why is it Black Friday? And why do you have white papers when you're doing smart thinking? And I think it's important for people, brands, to stand up and keep talking with us. So I want to play for you a video that Beats just put out, where I really think it epitomizes Black is beautiful.
You love me. You love me not. You love Black culture, but do you love me? You love how I sound, my voice, these beats, this flow. Not me though, right? You love how I look, my hair, this skin, but me, nah. We don't get to exist. We're forced to survive. We still fight. We we still play while the world burns. On fields that ain't even level. All men are created equal. That's my favorite part. You hate us so deeply, but you're still so impressed. Why can't you see? There's history in our skin. You built this country on our backs. I'm him, he's me, she, us, we are all black.
Power to live right, I got the power. Power to walk right, we got power.
Love me or not, we love each other deeply. We gon' be us. We gon' break bread. We gon' defy gravity. You love my culture, but do you love me? What a world that would be.
What's your thoughts?
I'd be curious to your thoughts. I think you go first.
Well, the fact that is it about beats or is it about society? So I see that as much more about society. And the fact is, the more we stand up for equality and try and rid ourselves of racism, the better we are. I don't think it was commercialized at all. I think the beats is a relevant part of it. Just brought it to the forefront to get some byproduct. So net, the more the merrier. Meaning sounds contrite, but the fact is, yes, we need to push this. We need to continue the dialogue in all places. Not unlike Black Friday. I did show that commercial to someone, and they said, "Why did they use all men are built equal or whatever they said? All men are equal. Why wouldn't it be all people? Why? Because it was a woman who I showed it to." And it's just interesting how we have to be careful that there's so many sub breaks that people look at it through their lens. Net, there's nothing negative, all positive, all great thoughts. It makes you think. It reminds me of a Trevor Noah program I saw where he talked about apartheid. Yeah. It's probably one of the most uncomfortable 30 minutes, but it was brilliant, like absolutely brilliant. Just that new lens. So again, it's great. When it makes you think, it works. It's great. So that would be my commentary. You?
A couple of things. One is, and I get, we open these doors and you get into endless conversations. So I think it says men because that's what is in the Constitution. Am I not right? In the U.S. Constitution, I'm pretty sure it says all men are created equal.
You'd have to ask Jeffrey Toobin.
Okay, so I couldn't ask Trump because he's never read it. But I think that's the reason why. I think for me, it's interesting. I'm going to go back to my point, which is, last week it was announced that on Celebrity Apprentice years ago, that Donald Trump used the N-word with Holly Robinson Peete, an actress. Okay, he called her the N-word. A couple of weeks ago at the University of Ottawa, a professor used the N-word. A student protested, and the university's backed up professor academic freedom. That's not cool with me, right? You can't hide the N-word in academic freedom. So I think these types of images, this messaging, this communication is powerful. So just to close here, one of the people missing from our show today is our buddy James Stafford and his lovely fiance, Catherine, who works for us here on Bourbon Street, are about to get married tomorrow in Barbados. They took advantage of that 12-month working visa. Don, why didn't you and I do that?
I don't know. I didn't want to get married to you.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I got to start with something a little more. I shouldn't jump right to the proposition. So, James, I know you're not watching the show today, but best wishes to you and Catherine. Enjoy walking down the aisle. And this is the fourth time this year they've tried to get married. They're supposed to get married in Ireland twice, once in Canada. Now they're in Barbados. Best of luck, you two.
Big shout out.
Okay.
All the best, Mark.
All right, Don. Stay safe up there in Collingwood.
All right. Talk to you soon. Bye, all. Thanks.